send it to the. It should be done by now.
Yeah, but I'm not sure, yeah.
You were on me, I thought it was way down the list.
That's all right. That's all good. So we're gonna move administrative business up after the meeting minutes.
Okay. Sounds good.
That's the idea. All right, it being Wednesday, February 15th, 2023 at 7:02 PM. We will start this evening's select board meeting. Is there anyone here for public comment? Come on up to the table, just introduce yourself, please.
My name is Dennis Ciccone. I own Ciccone Family Fitness Center. I just wanted to be brought up to speed on the Corona disaster relief money. From what I understand, first of all, I didn't even know about it until 3 months ago. Our business was highly considered in the industry the most affected aside of the cinemas. We were also, the fitness centers were not given any free money. So I kind of, when I heard this came up, I thought, well, this is an opportunity to, maybe we should seek out. We did borrow $375,000 from the SBA, which we went through the first, it was about a year. Now, that's coming due for us to pay back. We borrowed $10,000 from the town, which we also have to pay back. So I was just curious, what is the intended use for what I understand is disaster relief money?
All right, so the best direction would be to point you in the direction of Phil Duffy and Michael Ward, and then they can.
I did that.
All right.
And that's why I had to come here.
Okay, so.
So I think from what I understood, we got $4 million, 150, which is about 4% of 4 million, was going to businesses that were struggling. So I said, oh, where'd you come up with that number? I don't know. I said, well, how much, he says, how much money do you need? And I'm like, I don't know, I'd have to ask my accountant or my lawyer to come up with true figures. I borrowed $375 to stay in business. And I'm not asking for any certain amount, I'm just wondering, what's the intended use for the money? Is it for struggling families and businesses that were impacted by Corona? Or
There's a pretty wide umbrella.
yeah, I saw that. I have the
what's
thing right here.
included
Yeah,
in that. Businesses is one of them, but really anything that was impacted. So,
Maybe they can.
Mr. Ward, so
Yeah.
there's a question on how to access information about the ARPA funds for small businesses. We had initially mentioned speaking with Mr. Duffy and with yourself, and Mr. Ciccone said that he had already done that, but he was still here because he had questions.
Right. Well, I think once the board does their review with all the departments, we'll be circling back and then taking a vote to institute the programs that you feel would be necessary, with that money, with the funds that we have. So,
Mr. Chair, just because, so you did get a loan from the town?
yeah, I did.
Okay, so that was the first round of this?
Yeah, no.
No?
Well, I don't even know what it was. It was $5,000.
You said 10?
Well, it was $5,000 at a time. So it was $5,000 with a promise to pay back, and then they added another $5,000 promise to pay back. So it just dawned on me tonight that there's probably a bunch of other people that actually at that time were struggling. So if we got free money, maybe we should just forgive 10 grand anyways at the minimum. Just to, the intended purpose at the time is we were shut down. Our businesses were shut down. We needed to borrow the money to stay in business.
Right.
Yeah. So even moving forward, that's why I was just curious, do we have to, nobody contacted me and told me that this existed. So if.
We don't have
No,
a
it's
plan,
not.
we don't have a plan in place. please,
Yeah, no, I understand. But the first bullet point on it is struggling
Right, we have the
businesses.
money, and we're trying to
Yeah.
figure out how
So
we're gonna spend it. There's a lot of
when do-
pieces to this
when
pot,
do we-
believe
When do
me.
we contact the businesses and say, hey, you know,
We
who's
don't have,
struggling?
we don't have a plan in
We're
place
still
yet.
in
We've
the-
been doing this
the
every
planning
week.
process, so we have an ARPA task force, right? So that group is putting together, they're kind of creating the guidelines in a sense, right? But until
Did
that's.
look at the minutes of the meetings, and I heard some of the talk, and that's kind of raised my concern, is like the percentage that's going to fighting the pandemic and struggling families and businesses is like 4%.
You think it should be more?
Don't ask me, I think I would ask the businesses and families that struggle.
Okay. Noted. Thank you.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, so I mean, the best, the best I can offer is, once those programs are presented to the select board for
Yeah.
approval, then it would be rolled out. And, in the meantime, I would stay in touch with, Mr. Ward and Mr. Duffy.
Okay.
Right, the board expressed support for some business programs, but as the board indicated, those haven't been finalized as to
Okay.
what the guidelines, who would be eligible, whether it's a loan, or whether it's a grant, you know, all those things, I think, we need to continue to firm up. And then after we complete tonight is the last round of hearings, then we'll come back with the board and develop action plan from those hearings as to what the board wants to support.
Tonight's meeting is, they're discussing that tonight?
Yeah, it's later on the agenda. We've got a couple more department heads that are coming to finish up the round of hearings, and then the board themselves will sit down to finalize the
Oh,
program.
and then at that time, will we contact the businesses to let them know that it's available, or?
Oh, sure, whenever the final program has been adopted, then certainly there would be an outreach to let
Right.
people know and to encourage, you
All
know,
right, I think I
participation.
just misunderstood the whole thing.
It's complicated.
Yeah, it's determined, the
Yeah.
communities determine how the funds are gonna be allocated. So what we wanted to do in the beginning is we had put various department heads together to kind of create like a vision for that, to then be presented to the select board, so then we can kind of discuss it. And, you know, we kind of approved the first, the initial process, but we're still meeting with department heads now for their individual requests. And then, you know, Mr. Duffy will present to us on the community and economic development side, what his suggestion would be, and then we'll kind of weigh all this together
Okay, all right.
and finalize it.
Okay. All right,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, there's a list of different eligible uses, and each community can determine what best of that list is that they
Right, right,
need for
right.
their community.
So my representative would be Phil Duffy.
I think, yeah, I mean, certainly the ultimate decision will be by the board, but Mr. Duffy will be helping craft the guidelines for that program. Yeah.
Okay, all right. All right, okay. Well, I don't want to take any more of your time, but thank you very much. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
and
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other public comments? There being none. Review of the meeting minutes for January 18th, 2023, and February 1st, 2023.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the meeting minutes for January 18th, 2023, and February 1st, 2023.
Second?
Second, any discussion? There being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Are you gonna do the,
We're going to do the hearing first because it's advertised.
Okay, sounds good, yeah. All right, so we will open the hearing for the earth removal permit, public hearing for 191 Stone Street, HLT Realty Trust, Stephen McNamara, trustee.
How we doing?
Very good, if you'd like to introduce yourself, please.
Steve McNamara, lived in Clinton all my life. I run Heritage Landscaping and Trucking and HLT Realty Trust. I just purchased a piece of commercial property down on Stone Street and looking to build a building down there that the planning board has approved already, but there's a bunch of dirt in the way.
Is there anyone here to speak in favor of the approval of the earth removal permit?
Can I just say that I'm
come on up to the table.
I don't want to
Come up.
It doesn't count then.
So, all right, we'll close that portion of the meeting. Is there anyone here to speak in opposition of the earth removal permit? There being none, we'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there?
Yeah, Mr. Chair. So is the structure there yours, or is there another one going in?
The structure next door, I only own raw land right now.
Okay.
The structure that it just went in is James Tumlow's.
Okay. So the
and
earth there is?
Yeah, it was a big hill, basically carving out the hill.
Yep.
Putting in a 200-foot wall.
Yep.
That's, the planning board approved. It's all
So
engineered.
if I'm looking at it, so that's a different structure? You're
Yes.
putting in another building?
Yes.
To the left or the right?
If you're looking
I'm
at the
looking at it.
existing building there, it would be to the left.
Okay.
So it'd basically be where.
So more's coming out? So is this
Oh.
the stuff that's there, or?
Yes, this is for the stuff that's there.
And stuff that's gonna go?
No.
Or-
So nothing has really gone yet.
Right, I saw,
So basically, we have just been digging that out, to
Yep.
prep it, to get ready to remove it. The building next door went in,
yep,
and that's on his land, that's his property. So basically, my property is just raw land right now. I
Okay.
wanna dig out, I think it's like about 3,500 yards, maybe 3,000 yards.
all right. I saw 25 and 3, now it's.
Yeah, I don't know off the top of my head, but it's roughly right around that number, and we want to haul it off.
How many trucks and how long is this gonna take, you think?
It's probably about a 2-week process, and we're only gonna be running probably 3 trucks during the day. So basically, that would be, 3 trucks, 8 hours a day for 2 weeks.
I guess I'm looking for like trips down the street.
Trips?
Yeah.
Oh, down the.
Like, for the neighborhood, it's a tight street.
Yeah, so I would probably say 60 trips.
A day?
Yeah, no, altogether, 60
For
trips.
3,500?
Yeah, yep.
Okay.
Well, if you had a calculator, I could do the math real quick for you.
This is stuff we hear about, just because it's a tight.
Yeah, no, absolutely, so.
So you're estimating 60 over 3 weeks?
Yeah, but I would say 2 weeks.
Let's say 3, just to give you another week. All right, I have no idea if that's realistic or not.
Any other questions?
No, I'll move to grant the earth removal permit to 191 Stone Street.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Bob, what do we have as far as protections if this goes over? Like, if I just, again, I want this to happen, I just want to be sensitive to neighbors and make sure we're not running 495 down Stone Street, as far as trucks.
Yeah, I mean, per the section 6420, the specific conditions that have to go into this earth removal
Okay.
permit. So we'll actually draft up a permit that then goes to the clerk's office, gets recorded down there, and then we issue to the applicant. So that'll have that permit will have in there all.
So you can work out the specifics, okay.
Yeah, so we're looking to move about 800 yards a day. So that's 160 yards a truck, you know.
I'm a writer, don't
Oh,
do,
yeah.
listen, calculator doesn't even help me. Okay. Yeah, as long as, again, we just want to be sensitive to neighbors and make sure that when we come up with a deal, that everybody adheres to it.
Question, is this just Monday to Friday?
Yes, yep.
Okay. That helps too. Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah, I'd just like to say the reason I moved it is because it's commercial property all down in that area anyway, so you would be going off onto either Main or High Street, but...
I would be heading towards, so Stone Street down to Allen Street.
Okay.
That's the route we would go, because the material is going to Neck Road in Lancaster.
Great,
So,
that's all.
Any further? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good luck.
thank you.
Very good. So the next step is going to be, there's a 21-day period for appeal.
Okay. Six and appeal there.
You didn't have Brother Moore for math, and,
That was a long time ago.
all right.
Mr. Chair, I move that we take the, are we going to do an all administrative business? or
Yeah,
just
might
B?
as well just do it.
We're going to, I move that we take administrative business out of order and look at that next.
Very good, so we have is there a motion?
Sure, yes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Very good. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so under administrative business, the water sewer trash abatements for $8,415.18.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the water sewer trash abatements in the amount of $8,415.18 from the last billing cycle. We approve? That's what I said, approve.
I'll second it.
Second. Any discussion?
I just had a quick question about, like, what constitutes high use?
What constitutes high use? Sure, come
Like
on up.
somebody's seen
So a high-use abatement, years ago, quite some time ago, maybe 15 years ago, we put a policy in place where if somebody had a usage that was more than double what their normal usage is, inadvertently, even though they used the water, we would give a one-time abatement. So if somebody had a toilet leaking, they're not gonna go broke because of a toilet leaking, we'd abate, $1,000 off, but it's generally is a one-time, so we'll look back and say, all right, they already used their abatement, they don't get a second one,
Yeah.
but unless they come to you, you guys can always grant them a second one, but it's just to give people a break that had a faucet run, didn't know about it, a break in an irrigation pipe or anything like that, so that's what it's for.
Okay, thanks. I had that happen to me once.
Yeah.
And if the
Thank
matter
you.
doesn't get repaired and it comes back.
Then it comes-
the next
then you
billing
don't get it.
cycle, then
Yeah.
it's not used, so, yeah.
I gotcha. Thank you.
Any further
That's
discussion?
it. No, that's it
All
for
right,
me.
all in favor?
Aye.
Next item on the agenda would be a one-day beer and wine license for the Irish Supper held at St. John's Gym on March 11, 2023. If you would like to come up to the table.
Thank you.
So we're just seeking that one-day license for March 11, just for the day, beer and wine only, no hard stuff. We've got some firefighters who'll be serving and keeping an eye on things, making sure everybody's in good shape and nobody's overserved or anything. Yeah.
Terrific. Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the request for a one-day beer and wine license for the Irish Supper sponsored by St. John, the Guardian of Our Lady Parish, on March 11th, 2023, from 3 to 6 p.m.
Second.
Second. Any discussion?
Tickets available? How do we sign up for this?
After,
Get the plug in early.
for Tammy in the hall and also in the, after all the masses, I'm just wondering if it's not too late, if we could go 1 to 6. I'm sorry, it says 3. Is it too late to change that?
It says, actually says 6:30 too, I read it wrong.
6:30, yeah.
Okay,
We're, St. John's, we're doing 3 to 6:30, and Mark O'Toole's doing the whole
Oh, that's right,
Shillelagh,
yep.
Oh,
the
right.
Shillelagh Leprechaun Society thing from 1 to 3, and somebody might want a beer or a glass of wine.
Mr. Chair, I move that
during
we amend my motion from 3 o'clock start time to 1 o'clock start time.
Second.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I don't do the whole motion.
All right, so there's a second.
That was an amendment.
Second?
That was the
Oh,
amendment,
that
yeah.
was
The amendment's been
That was the amendment.
approved. Now we're back to the original,
the
Any-
original.
because you made the
Mhm.
motion, right?
Yep.
So, the original motion
You
to
did.
approve it, so. Any further discussion? There be none, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Yeah, Tom Torini's catering, and the Irish step dancers will be there at 5:30 to perform, if you want to catch that, because that's amazing, the Byrne family and
Oh, yeah.
company,
I went last year. It was a
Yeah,
great, it was a great
5:30.
time, so, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Good luck.
All right, moving back. Mr. Duffy, Director of Clinton Community and Economic Development, is here for the 2023 Community Development Block Grant Public Hearing.
With your permission, Mr. Chairman, the public hearing is actually advertised for 7:45, so if we can move out of order and open the meeting sometime subsequent to then, that'd be
Sure.
appreciated.
Done before that, so.
I know. Oh,
I'll stick around.
All
you
right,
just jinxed us.
so we will come back to that. I know, that was dumb. All right. Next item, downtown High Street sidewalk review, Superintendent of Public Works. Mr. Deval initially put this on there, so I don't know if you wanna, if there's anything you wanna share based upon the information you were provided, or?
Yeah, I did see the photos. There's some cracking. Cracking in general and sidewalks, it does happen all the time. There are a few down there for sure that might be a little bit beyond leaving, you know, which isn't the end of the world to cut them out and to replace them. Some of the smaller ones, like literally if you walk sidewalks, like I look at them because it's kind of what I do, you know, but you see cracks no matter where you go. If you go to the bottom of the stairs here in front of the town hall, there's a crack. If you take a left, go down to the handicap ramp, there's a crack. It's very common. You put these, they're called control joints, where they kind of saw cut a joint, or you can use a tool to make a joint. And the purpose of those joints is to hope that when the concrete cracks, it cracks on that joint. I mean, they're literally put in because the concrete is going to crack, and you want it to crack on the control joints. It's not a perfect science, and it doesn't always happen that way. So, so the cracking is just inherent to flat work concrete. There are a few, especially some of the longer ones, like in front of the Sunrise has a good sized one. The Abershams one's possibly, because I didn't notice that until recently, and that could be they are driving over that sidewalk to bring their pallets in and stuff. But so my thought is the job's out of warranty, so the warranty is up there. Any construction project basically has a 1-year warranty on it, so the warranty period is up. So what I would think we probably should do is the next time we're doing concrete work in town, you know, have it part of you know, if we do a job on Main Street with sidewalks, we'll have a little item in there, remove sections in High Street and re-pour them, and we'll pick and choose. And I don't think we should really go taking out every single one that's cracked. The only other issue is where the concrete is cracked adjacent to a tree well. I'm very hesitant to take that concrete out for a couple of reasons. That when you're pulling it out, the tree well could kind of be stuck to it, and we could damage the tree well. And the other problem is when you're finishing concrete, generally what you want to do is you want to finish against a form. So you'd have a form, and then you finish the concrete, you pull the form out. In this case, you won't have that, and it can kind of get messy because you don't have a good edge to finish the concrete to, and some of the concrete will inevitably kind of spill over into the tree grate, and it's not going to clean off well. So those I wouldn't touch at all. I think it's just we're asking for trouble if we do those, but that would be my recommendation. I did look at the pictures Ed sent, and some of them I agree they're a little bit beyond what we should probably leave. But I mean, the only way to go back after the contractor, I don't think we could, but I mean, Bob would have to look at the contract and see if he sees anything in there that would allow us to do that. But I honestly don't think it's, I think it's 1 year, and that it clearly states 1 year warranty in the bid. And it's not a tremendous amount, you know. The other thing that comes into play on these is sidewalks, like what we did on High Street. There's two things kind of going against you. They're very wide. So you have big, wide sections of concrete, and the bigger it is, you know, it's got to move, it's gonna shrink, it's gonna do stuff like that. And the other thing is every time you have an electrical handhole, every time you have an irrigation handhole, every time you have a light pole, you're putting stuff in, and concrete loves to crack around, you know, features like that. It just is inevitable that that's going to happen, and that's where most of the cracks are, and that's what I would recommend. And I don't know if Ed wants to pipe in, you know, something different, that's fine too, you know, I don't have any issue with that, so that's where we're at, so.
Sure.
I just had a question.
Sure.
So even if we replace them, like, they could,
It could,
Crack
concrete
again.
there's.
it's just, I've heard you say this before too, like, cracks.
There's two kinds of concrete that's cracked and concrete that's going to crack.
Crack, okay, yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like we've had this conversation
It's-
before,
it-
yeah.
It just does crack. And
Yeah.
Any sidewalks you go to anywhere, the narrower the sidewalk without any obstructions, there'll be less cracking, but there'll be cracking. If you go to handicap ramps, you know, 30% of them have cracks in them. It's just inevitable.
Yeah. That's all.
So, yeah, I would just make the suggestion that, Mr. Deval can review what Mr. McGowan just said, and then if we want to put this on a later agenda.
Yeah, I'm available,
then
sure.
We can go that route, but I think
Yeah.
at least
Yeah.
that gives a start.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you.
Thanks, good. All right. Next item on the agenda, the ARPA Task Force preliminary recommendations. The first department is facilities. If Facilities Director would like to come to the table.
Hello, everyone.
All right, if you would just introduce yourself for the public.
Brian Farrager, Facilities Director. And does everyone have a handout?
Yes.
Thank you. There has been a few changes since the original list that Angela put together, and it was more so when I was kind of going through them, and there was some overlap, specifically with the rooftop unit that Chief Lutz was talking about. I thought it would better be suited in an HVAC air quality item that we're discussing right now. I didn't add any additional cost to that. I just kind of absorbed that portion of that request, that specific request. I also included the town hall auditorium airflow line item I did include that pricing into the total, $400,000. And just to go through some of the, some aspects of how we came to that number, it's one of our biggest expenses as far as my budget goes, repairs. We have 16 town buildings, that's including the schools. All have heat, not all have air conditioning, but all have systems that need upkeep, that need constant monitoring. They're older systems. So, in the last year, we've done a lot to upgrade, both at the school level and the town level, as far as getting new controls where we can kind of monitor remotely. It's leaning more, we're trying to get more efficient, being in the Green Communities program and all that. There's certain criteria we need to meet, and some of the outdated systems we have in our buildings, we're trying to kind of chip away at that. This funding will go a long way to allow us to kind of look big picture, and not get tied into the day-to-day repairs, and kind of allow us to be more proactive in picking projects, being able to fund those projects. Right now, we all have ideas to, let's replace this unit or that unit, but there's a cost to it, and if we go in that direction and we don't have enough funds to do our day-to-day repairs to keep buildings running, we run into an issue. So those decisions, sometimes those get pushed off a little bit. So it is a way to supplement our operation budget in a way, and these funds can also, for bigger projects that have to go out, that may have to go out to bid, we can look to hire a firm to do the specs and to do the kind of bid documents for us. It's just a way that allows us to kind of maintain our line item in our operational budget, where we're not cutting corners, and because it's not our only expense. We have other repairs, we have plumbing issues, we have and covering 16 buildings townwide, things can add up pretty quickly. So I'd hate to, this was an opportunity that came that said, okay, we're making great progress, and how do we kind of not delay that and continue down that path as to keeping the day-to-day operations going, but looking more down the road. Some items that we can look to, air conditioner in the Clinton High School gymnasium. There's no AC in there. There's heat, there's airflow. We had the unit go down 2 nights ago, and there was a basketball game, and it was fine. It was safe. Not ideal. It was a little humid in there. It's been corrected, but it's items like that we can get ahead of. It's working, so we're not looking at it. And we want to get to a point where we can do projects, but we can also eliminate the fires and look and spend kind of our line item money on more preventative maintenance and maintaining those. As we replace items, we have programs to keep them running and keep them operational instead of waiting until they fail.
Mr. Chairman?
Sure.
I didn't see, are we not going to consider the chairs, replacing the chairs in the town hall?
Right now, I'm specifically talking about the facility that were designated directly to facilities. I know, I believe they're under the town line item that I can certainly speak to and work with Angela on. We're not overlooking that, it's just not, it wasn't on my, directly related to facilities.
Well, I know, I'm just saying that because I know originally it was, so I was wondering if we were still.
Yeah, I can certainly,
Yeah.
you know, get involved and we can
Yeah.
look to see what that would take to replace those and what it would cost and all that.
Pricing, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks, Brian.
Any other questions or discussion?
So is it, and this might be for both of you, is with the fire department, were we just moving, it's just different columns?
Yeah, so I have to go through and adjust the fire department because they also had that other, they had a couple of things in there that are shown in other line items,
Yeah.
so I gotta readjust the totals.
All right.
Yeah. It made sense to me to take that off his plate.
That's accounting.
It's the same.
Yeah.
Sure,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
thank you.
And as far as the economic recovery, I know there's some line items as far as High Street goes, but Central Park, you know, we maintain Central Park, our staff does a very, very good job, the Parks and Rec staff. It's kind of an extension of High Street.
Okay, that's what that means. I wasn't sure if you were extending High Street. Okay.
No.
Okay, all right.
Just as
Sorry.
far as
I had
the
question
flow
marks there.
of people walking their pets and,
Yes.
and the trash containers and recycling have been there, I think, for 20-plus years, and if you take a walk
I'll take more
around-
trash, yeah.
Yeah,
at any
I mean,
time.
there's holes in the bottom of them.
Yep.
So I did do some initial pricing, and if you want to get something that's going to last, and the elements and the wear and tear and the amount of traffic, they're pretty pricey. I mean, they could go from anywhere from $900 to $1,400 per unit. There's 10 cans there now. So, you know, I think it came up to $35,000, and then if we want to look at benches and things like that,
Sure.
or maybe purchase a couple extra so we have them on hand, that's where that number came from.
I do have another
Sure.
question, Mr. Chairman. I looked at the fountain the other day. Happened to be parked right in front looking at it, and it is getting pretty bad looking again.
So there is a warrant article, I believe, still on the books that was 5 or 6, 7 years old maybe, that deals directly with paint.
No, it was appropriate, money was
I
appropriate.
believe, I don't know if it was on the Parks and Rec, but then got transferred over to facilities, but I believe there's still funding specifically for painting the fountain, which we're looking to do. It's just a matter of when we can
Oh, okay.
get someone there and.
Yeah, because it's
what the
all
price would be.
chipping and it's.
Yeah,
on the top.
it
Yeah,
definitely needs
yeah.
attention, and it is something that I think we have already funds for, and if we don't, it's something that we would plan for.
Good, I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions? All right, thank you very much.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
All right, next is Council on Aging.
He's going to have Brian stay since part of him too.
Yeah.
If you want to catch him.
He's seen this. We went over it already. I'm Debbie Goodsell, the Director of the Clinton Council on Aging, and the COA has a request for $50,000 for ARPA funding, which would secure an architect to create bid documents for the carriage house conversion to a health and fitness center. The COA center is not conducive to holding fitness classes due to the room sizes that are available. Currently, weekly classes include Monday morning stretch, line dancing, yoga 4 times a week, Zumba, Tai Chi, meditation, gentle mat yoga, Tai Chi Fit, strength and balance 2 times a week. Our largest space is the second floor activity room, which is approximately 24 by 15, and this room is utilized for other programs, not only fitness. Currently, our fitness classes are either broken up into 2 groups held at different time slots due to space constraints, or are held off campus at the Parks and Rec building. The issue with either of these arrangements is, number 1, the funding of multiple classes instead of holding 1 class, and 2, the Parks and Rec building is not always available, example, school vacation weeks and during the entire summer. We have approximately 100 individuals who attend our fitness classes weekly. Converting the carriage house would allow us not only to continue the programs currently offered, but it will allow us to also expand programming in 2 ways, introducing new programs such as ballroom dancing, hip hop, etc., but also the ability to use the current room that's being used now for fitness programs for new programs. We have secured funding for this project, including a generous donation from the Leominster Credit Union. Our only holdup at the moment is bid documents. One last note, we have learned during the pandemic, which this funding is the result of, having a large open space is invaluable to be able to function properly. One lesson learned during COVID was that space was needed to keep individuals safely apart, 6 feet, remember 6 feet apart? And this continues today, as some of our senior individuals are still fearful of contracting COVID, and others are fearful of respiratory diseases and other diseases for that matter, as they are immunocompromised. Thank you for this consideration, and did you have any questions?
Thank you.
You said you already have funding for this?
We have some funding from ARPA money from the senator, and we were able to, Leominster Credit Union, their board actually thought this was a great cause and donated $20,000 to us.
So, just one clear, so what will that cover? Like the renovation of the carriage house?
So you have a do you have the picture?
Yeah.
A picture in front of you. There's one big room. So basically where the carriage doors are, that would be a handicap accessible entrance, and it would be one big room. That's all it would be. There's no fitness equipment, nothing like that. I mean, other than like a yoga mat or chairs for chair yoga. But it's just going to be that one big open room that they can do Tai Chi and Zumba and line dancing and have the space to actually stretch and move your arms and kick and things like that. So it's going to be to basically, the electrical has already been updated.
Okay.
So it's going to be to replace, I think there's 3 windows, insulate, and put down new flooring, and put down of course, the entrances, and also, there was one more thing.
Is it
heat, that's the split units, to put the heat and air conditioning in there. Because during the summer, like when they're doing Tai Chi, they're doing it out on the front lawn, but if it's, 90 degrees, that's not healthy either. So this would be a space for them to go inside, or if it's raining, or any other numerous things that can stop them from doing this. And the thing is, like with our fitness classes, like strength and balance, they can only fit 12 people in the room at max. So we'll have somebody call and say, oh, I want to sign up for strength and balance because I just finished my PT after getting out of the hospital. Well, the class is full. You'll have to sign up for next week. So I want to be able to offer it to everybody who needs it, and not just a few.
So right now, is the building, is it pretty much weather tight? So everything is
Yeah.
perfect in that sense? So it's just the
open now.
windows, and then, I guess renovating the flooring and the walls and all, and like you said, and adding in the climate control.
The building is solid. I mean, it's made with wood. I mean, it's not going anywhere.
And then it would be adding handicap accessibility
Correct.
to the front.
Yep. We would also put, there's a second egress out of where the stalls are, and that exit would also be handicap accessible.
Is this the same room, the 2 pictures?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the same room, just 2 different angles?
Yeah.
And then, is it 2 floors?
There is 2 floors. We would not be utilizing the second floor. This would only be the first floor. And just, we'll shout out to John Cannon for taking those pictures today.
Nice. Nice.
That was a perfect day for it.
Yeah, it is a solid building for
So
sure.
what's on the second floor? Is it
It's perfectly empty.
just empty?
Yeah, it's just empty. It's just a wide open space. It's not handicap accessible. There's a staircase that goes up there. Could be used for storage or something, but it's used for nothing currently.
And so the 50,000 would be for
First
the
floor.
architecture?
For the bid documents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any questions? Outstanding. Excellent. Is there anything else that you wanted to present on, or is that the only?
Oh, I could present on 100 things.
Here's your time to shine.
There's a lot out there. There's a lot. Like I said, you've seen the figures. We've got the baby boomers all coming up. We've been open Thursday nights since last summer, and it's been going fabulously. So we're actually in the spring going to extend that to be open 2 nights a week. So, and we get, you have seniors working longer, and they want to be able to like, oh, I wish I could come. It's like, well, let's have some stuff so they can come. So, and we do have, we have a food pantry.
Yes.
So we have Grady's Groceries, so that's been going well as well. So yeah, a lot of good stuff going on.
Yeah, I would just be curious on, I don't know if Brian had walked through, like if.
Oh, yes.
What it would look like for the second floor. I mean, if you're gonna, as you're considering this, is there anything functionally that can be done on the second floor while we're kind of entertaining the idea of doing it? I mean,
Yeah.
it's one thing, it's easy to get a price on it, or, if there's a vision for it, and then kind of be able to consider it from there versus doing it, and then, if it ever,
Going down.
the circumstances ever change, and you consider doing it down the road, like,
Yeah.
if they're in there, maybe they can kind of give you a price on everything, and,
Yeah,
I mean, space seems to be
I'm
pretty
open
tight
to that.
everywhere.
But you'd have to make that handicap accessible, so you'd
you'd have to.
have an
Yeah,
elevator.
or something there. Yeah,
So then you're talking big, big money.
right?
Well, that's why I'm suggesting you get a number to see what it looks like, and then instead of hypothesizing that something is gonna be
Yeah, we know if it's out of range or not.
exactly it.
One thing I do want to mention, though, if you look at, I don't think you have the pictures of the stalls, but we are leaving the stalls as is. We are not touching them, we are not changing them. They're historic, they're beautiful. There's cast iron work on each stall, they're gorgeous. I'll send you pictures. But we're going to clean them up, maybe, restain the finish, but they will stay as is.
Excellent. Very nice.
All right,
Any
thank you.
questions?
You all set?
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks, Bill.
All right, next item, the next person. Mr. McGowan, come on down.
All right, so, not sure if you guys are familiar, but the Housing Authority up, is it presentation, is that the name of that one? Presentation up off of Church Street got money to put a fire suppression system in the building. They also were able to get, since our line on Church Street, our water line is not big enough to get them enough water that they need, they were able to get a $100,000 earmark from the state to bring water line up. And what we determined would be the easiest and cheapest way to get it up there would be to go actually up Union Street. So to come from Chestnut Street, there's a 12-inch main on Chestnut Street, and go up Union Street up the back way and into the back of the building. We did the design, or most of the design. The design's probably 90% there. And they came up with an engineer's estimate. The engineer's estimate was, just for the construction work alone, was just over $200,000, which we always thought that the 100 wasn't gonna cut it, but, and I thought maybe that this would be good use for that money. It's for elderly and, assisted living or whatever they are out there, the Housing Authority. So I thought that, I'm looking the 200,000, but we got some more design and some engineering and construction oversight. So it's probably gonna be a $225,000 project. We have 100, so we'll be looking for about $125,000. And this project is they want to move on it. Our only other option, we'd have to go to town meeting with a warrant article to get the money, and they're hot to trot. They did get a lot of money to get this thing in. I think it's an important job, and I think it'd be a great way to spend this money, and it's something we can do, starting this spring. So it'd be a way to really get, I think we need to start spending this money myself, sooner the better, and I think this would be a worthy project for sure.
And so this would be going up through the St. John's Gym parking lot?
Exactly.
So how would that work?
Yeah, well, we'd have to get with Father Mazzoni. Did you talk to Father Mazzoni about this? Michael, at one point? Yeah.
I mentioned him the concept, and
Yeah.
that was prior to design.
Yeah.
So once we have final design, we'd like to bring it before him and see if he could.
Yeah, we need an easement over their property, but it would help their property too, you know, it'd be anything that goes up there that might need fire suppression, they'd have it now, a brand new 8-inch line very close by, and, so it'd be helpful for them also, so I don't see, I'd be surprised if he had an issue with it since, it is a housing authority that we're trying to protect, so.
Is this something that the board would entertain moving forward on, being that there's a time sensitive?
It is somewhat time sensitive because they want to get started. You know, I think they are. I don't even know if maybe they already started inside the building. They were talking about going over the winter time. So, there definitely is time sensitive for sure.
Mr. Chair, can I just get clarification?
Sure.
So there's 100 here, you're saying 250, is there?
225, I was thinking, yeah.
All right, so say.
And another 125,000 is what I'm looking at.
Yeah, adding on, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, the state provided 100,000 of ARPA money from the state to do this part of the project.
So our net's 125?
Correct.
Right,
Okay.
yep.
Thank you.
So that was hoping that it would do the project, but between design and construction and the length of the pipe, 100,000 wasn't enough.
They just kind of threw a number at it. I don't even think at that point they contacted us about, they had contacted us about, where do you have water and what would be the best bet, but then I don't know where the $100,000 number came from. It got thrown out there, but, they went to the state, but it's half the money, so it was good to get for sure, so.
And they do have funding from DHCD for the sprinkler system to do that, themselves, but as Mr. McGowan indicated, they can't move forward with that because they don't have enough water pressure to service the building without this water line, so.
Well, Mr. Chairman, because it is time sensitive, I think that I'll move that we approve that money so that the project can at least start going, and, I know you have to speak to the church and stuff, but
yeah,
at least it would set things in motion.
For sure.
So we're saying 125?
125.
Yeah.
Second.
Any discussion or questions? There being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Very good. That's an easy one. Back on track. All right. Wheat assistance.
Hello, everyone. I'm here, I can discuss, I was planning to come here tonight to actually discuss if the board would contemplate a motion to commit that money in anticipation of a CDBG grant, where it may have figured into our application. As it turns out, we won't be including wheat in our CDBG application. I can get into that during the public hearing. So in the absence of Jody, I don't know if you want to defer this discussion or if you would like me to kind of walk through. I think Jody and I preliminarily did when I had my session. But effectively, we're looking to demonstrate community support for Wheat's construction project, Wheat's presence in the downtown and the services that Wheat provides to the community, a space where they can accommodate those. So really my urgency in speaking to you and wishing to speak to you this evening is no longer there. But, so I don't know if we want to talk about Wheat or if we just want to leave it where we left it at our last meeting, which was probably about a month ago.
Has anything changed from our last discussion, Phil?
In terms of the project development?
Yeah.
No, the project continues apace. It's really a matter of timing. There's just not enough time either on Wheat's side or on the community side to get a eligible project together and to demonstrate that all the other requirements of the grant program will have been met. For instance, bid-ready documents and demonstrate certification that all other funding sources are in place. There's still a gap between all the money that's been added up and the most recent project cost estimate. And the project is, I don't believe, is close to having a bid-ready set of documents, which is a requirement of the grant. So as I speak to you, after we open the public hearing, I will describe the projects that we're including in our application, but we are guided in part by desire to leave enough in next year so that if wheat is still on the table here 12 months from now, we can be having those conversations and doing a better job of preparing for an application.
Is everybody good with that?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so let's jump into the 2023 Community Development Block Grant Public Hearing. I'll open this portion of the hearing for Mr. Duffy to present.
Okay, thank you. I'm here to discuss and seek the board's approval for our application for 2023 Community Development Block Grant Program. I'm going to say this in the public record, which I said at our last meeting. One of the things we do in the public hearing is give an update on ongoing activities. In FY21, we received a grant to do the Ash Street project. We are finalizing clearance for the release of funds. Those funds should be released, and we expect that that release will come sometime in March. We expect to procure for the resident engineer immediately thereafter. Likely have the project documents out to bid in April. Negotiations concluded with the contractor by the beginning of June, and ideally starting construction after the close of the elementary school year and Little League at the end of June. It's approximately a 2 to 2.5 month construction project, 2 to 3 months. Ideally, we will be complete by September. If we are not complete by the end of September, we'll be in such a phase of the work where it shouldn't meaningfully interfere with the operations of the schools. I mean, by that point, everything's paved, all the curbing should be in place, it should be punch list kinds of things that are going on. Roads aren't usually blocked that late in the project. In connection with our application today, I'm submitting to the chair a request to DHCD for a waiver for compliance with those clearance requirements. Effectively, there's a requirement that we have all those clearances in place prior to application. There was a piece, and I mentioned this at the last meeting, I had neglected to notify Mass Historical Commission, so we had a delay in finalizing that package, and it arrived after the deadline for submittal to be sure that we won't need that waiver. There's a chance that we won't, that DHCD will complete their review of our request for release of funds prior to the grant deadline application, but in case they don't, we're going to request a waiver.
I'm sorry, is that still Ash Street?
No, this is for, no, this is,
I missed a step.
it's the clearances for Ash Street, but in order to make this application, we have to have those clearances in place. So we have to request a waiver.
From historical? Like, what is?
No, from DHCD.
Okay.
Yeah. Effectively, there's a number of things we have to do after we've executed the contract. These include environmental review, which includes notifying about a dozen agencies. Mass Historical Commission was notified on the application, but they weren't actually notified of the address with a completed project notification form. So I did that after it having been raised to me by DHCD in December, which is when I submitted what I thought was a complete packet. But as a consequence of that delay, we need to request this waiver. What we're proposing to do is one activity in this application, the downtown sidewalk project. Chris and I have documented remaining segments of deteriorated sidewalk in the downtown target area. These include segments of Union Street in 4 locations, Walnut Street between Union Street and Church Street, Prospect Street, School Street, and Mechanic Street. We have worked up cost estimates for each of those segments, looked at adjacent work that may be going on in the next couple of years, and are prioritizing two of those streets for sidewalk, curbing, and lighting. Those are a segment that connects the High Street project, where it terminates on Union Street, comes around the corner by Brierley, and reconnecting back on Walnut Street in front of Corcoran House. So to effectively complete that block, that work would include new sidewalks, extension of approximately 20 feet of new curbing, resetting existing curbing, and installing sidewalks and a total of 7 streetlights consistent with the downtown streetlights, except for the planters. Extending the irrigation just wouldn't work. So there'd be 3 lights on Union Street, and then starting from the corner of Walnut Street, an additional 4 going back across on that side. We're also looking to do Prospect Street, sidewalks on the south side of the street, as well as lighting and extending curbing, which was installed in approximately 2010, up to its intersection with Walnut Street. This work will connect the project that we did on Walnut Street and High Street. Prospect Street has some of the worst lighting in the entire downtown area. It's frighteningly dark. This would improve those conditions and create a safe pedestrian connection between the parking up on Walnut Street, we have about 51 parking spaces up there, to High Street, and create on-street parking on Prospect Street. This is envisioned as long-term parking for employees in the downtown and for residents. The total cost estimate right now is about $495,000 for those two projects. That would leave us about $825,000 as a limit. If we were awarded in this year, it would leave us a limit of about $825,000 next year, because DACD has a 2-year rolling cap on the amount that any community can receive over a 2-year period.
Okay. Excuse me. Very good, so I will open this to anybody here that would like to speak in support of this.
Or any questions? I mean, I have the linear takeoffs.
Right, so we have to go support
Yeah, why don't
against.
we do that, yeah.
All right, so if there's nobody here to speak in support, is there anyone here to speak against? We'll close that portion. Any questions on the board?
No, what's next step? Like, what do we need to? what do you
The
need from
application
us?
will go on Friday, March 3rd. I'll be coming to you at your next meeting with for the chairman's, it doesn't need to be in a public hearing, the chairman's signature for your approval of the application. That'll have the final budget number on it.
Okay,
And for you to authorize the chair to sign the application.
we can do that next meeting.
Yes.
Great.
Who's doing your meeting March 1st?
Yeah.
Say it again?
March 1st.
March 1st?
Yeah, March 1, yeah.
Okay.
That's two Wednesdays hence, the first Wednesday.
Great. No, I love the idea.
Yeah, this will continue the work we've done. I think I may have mentioned that in our slum and blight inventory of 2015, we identified 13,000 and change lineal feet of deteriorated sidewalk. And we replaced 10,000 lineal feet of that. This will chip away at a percentage of that. There are remaining segments to do. We will seek other funding sources, including complete streets. And if, Main Street work, which is contemplated, we will bring that up on Union Street and the bottom of Church Street to complete those segments. And, we've obviously, not just in the downtown, but townwide, have been building a lot of sidewalks over the last 10 years. I think it's a betterment the entire community can enjoy and supports one of the town's unique qualities as a walkable community. And try to continue to do that using all kinds of, whatever funding we can find.
Very good.
Yeah, I love it.
All right, is there we need a motion?
Do you need anything from us, Derek?
Beg pardon?
Do you need anything from us?
No, not this evening, just, I guess we could I guess we probably should take a vote to approve the application pending submittal of the completed packet for signature.
So moved.
I'll second.
Second. Any discussion? There being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Phil.
Thank you.
Very good. All right, so moving on to old and new business. Reserve fund transfer for $12,920.40 for environmental review. So there's
Yeah, Mr. Chair, this is testing that's been done, soil and ground and water testing that needs to take place due to a release of firefighter foam from a training exercise. The last month in one of the packets correspondence, there was approval from DEP of the plan in order to do this work to come into compliance. So this is the initial work that's been done. It set up some monitoring wells, did initial testing. All the results are so far below reportable amounts, either none or below reportable amounts. And then going forward, there'll be a final testing of the culvert and the open water going down towards Prescott Mills. So that was, the initial testing last spring was done at that site down by Prescott Mills, then sent to DEP, and then we worked over the summer into the fall on this plan, and now the testing will begin. So we've done the initial testing around the fire station and that surrounding properties. They'll then test, like I mentioned, the culvert, and then the final testing will be where they started down by Prescott Mills. That report is due to DEP by May. So the hope is that the testing will continue coming back as such, and we'll submit the report in May, and hopefully at that point will be just a close the case at that point. So since this was approved, it wasn't something that we had budgeted for, so it's something DEP is requiring. So we're just asking the Finance Committee for funds to complete the plan.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve a request from the reserve fund, we approve a request to transfer $12,920.40 from the reserve fund for invoices from Parker Environmental for site testing work performed as required by the Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection regarding the release of firefighting foam during a training exercise at Clinton Fire Department.
Second.
Any discussion? Not there being none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Very
Thank
good.
you.
Thank you. Moving on just to board protocol and select board norms. This was something that we had, that was mentioned earlier this fiscal year. I had just sent out just a draft that I had found from other government boards, norms being, standards and expectations on how we would conduct business, how we would engage with one another during meetings, and it's something that I think that we should look at reviewing, and if there's any feedback. I don't know if anybody had a chance to take a look at it or not.
I did.
Just-
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Sean.
No, please.
No, I just said I did have a chance. I did have a chance to read it. You said that you adopted it from other
I just kind of, yep.
towns that have implemented kind of a
Yeah.
protocol.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing here that surprised me or startled me. The nice thing about this board, and sometimes the challenge about it, is that it's a different mix of 5 every year. But I don't think that change of membership should, in any way disregard collegiality, respect, and civility. I mean, I'm open to. I'm not sure how much we're going to codify these things. I mean, to me, it's just common sense, and just we certainly don't always agree, but I'd like to think we all have the best interests of the town, maybe through a different lens in our mind. I
have to agree with Sean. I think that, we may have disagreements, but we're all adults. And we come here, we're supposed to be focused for one thing, and that's to represent the townspeople. So, I think, myself, I don't think we need something in writing. I think as adults, we should know how we should be conducting ourselves here.
No, I don't disagree. I think, to see, to have kind of something that's there as a more of a rail if things kind of going off it. I know that, when I send out emails, sometimes they're not always responded to. And that's something I think that, to your point, working together where, if we're trying to arrange a meeting and 1 or 2 attempts go unresponded to, you know, I think it does come back to the reminder that, yeah, we are here together. So that's kind of why I felt it was necessary to kind of put something together. You know, ultimately, you know, Michael shouldn't be the in-between the communication that takes place amongst our select board members, and I think, you know, at times that happens, and I don't think it's a fair position to put Michael in. And, you know, I'd like to, you know, just kind of establish that if the chair is sending an email to schedule a meeting, that, you know, there's at least a response that's received.
Or just anybody.
Well, I mean, I kind of disagree with that. I mean, I think that that's what we have the administrator for. And we should be communicating with him. I mean, he's the person who's here 5 days a week, basically running the town, so.
Correct. So just to clarify, so when we set up a committee for the workspace evaluation, and I sent an email out asking if this date worked, you know, there was one person that did not respond to that email. So is that Michael's responsibility to be that person who's the in-between? Or would it be, as you mentioned, to work together and just respond to the email whether that time works or doesn't work? And I sent a follow-up email that also went unanswered, and that's why I'm referring. There are certain things, absolutely, if you needed to discuss with Michael, absolutely, but it's not Michael's responsibility to manage the select board. That's all.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I don't disagree. Now that you bring that up, like, yeah, I mean, Michael runs the town. We have to, you know, the chair runs the board for a year, and again, these three things, it's a low bar to get over respecting each other and being civil for our term here. So I don't know how we enforce these things if people don't see it the same way, but like I said, I think it's a low bar.
Yeah, I don't think it's a matter of enforcing or penalizing or punishing. It's just kind of something that's can stand there as a reminder. You know, we're all elected officials, and you know, we have a responsibility to work together in the best interest of the town, and sometimes that seems to be adrift. So to use this as a little bit of a kind of a compass to bring things kind of back together and move forward.
It's always a good reminder.
Yeah, okay.
So I would just request anything that pertains to the select board, you know, communication be responded to the select board. So,
thank you.
Very good. Committee reports. So the workspace evaluation of of the town hall, we had met on Monday, and we had a great tour of this enormous building that I just never knew half of it existed behind those walls. But you know, thank you to Michael, Angela, and Brian. Brian provided layout of all the department offices. Angela and Michael included information about, you know, the number of employees, if, you know, how much public traffic or interdepartmental traffic is received, and then we went through and took a look at every office, and there absolutely is a ton of room that is just being used as a kind of a catch-all. So we had discussed going over, you know, as Mary Rose mentioned, looking at maybe looking at a company to come in to kind of scan documents that we need to keep, so we can get rid of some of the hard copies of things that are that don't need to be filed away, and then, you know, looking at how can we repurpose some of that room that's down there. So I thought it was, you know, I was pretty impressed with the size of the building, and the hope is we can look at how efficient the day-to-day operation of the town hall works, if the departments are in the right location. I know currently there's gonna be a change going with the treasurer's office, the accountant's office, retirement office, and in addition into the collector's office. So from an operational standpoint, it's gonna be a nice change. So outside of that, I think we're looking to meet, within the near future, just to kind of get an idea of what the next steps would be in pricing and whatnot. I don't know if I missed anything. Outside of that, any other committee reports?
None for me.
All right, as far as community announcements. Community announcements, trash delay due to President's Day. On Monday, February 20th, 2023, there will be a one-day delay for trash collection due to the President's Day holiday. Monday's trash will be collected on Tuesday, February 21st, 2023. No other days will be affected. Please remember to have trash curbside by 6 a.m. COVID-19 vaccine and booster clinic. Bigelow Free Public Library will be hosting a free COVID-19 vaccine and booster clinic on Friday, February 17th, 2023, from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Please bring ID and vaccine card. And public meeting to review concept plan for the Mass Central Rail Trail. There will be a public meeting on Tuesday, February 21st, 2023 at 7 p.m. in the Clinton Town Hall Select Board Chamber Room for a review of the concept plan for the design of the Mass Central Rail Trail in Clinton. This section of the abandoned rail bed runs from the east portal of the tunnel near Clamshell Road to the Berlin Town Line. The concept plan will be presented by Tig & Bond, the firm hired by the town to conduct this design phase of the project. Feedback from this public meeting will be helpful in completing the preliminary design of the trail. The Clinton Greenway Conservation Trust is partnering with the town on this project. You can reach the Clinton Greenway Conservation Trust at info@clintongreenway.org. That's info@clintongreenway.org. And the last thing I just wanted to mention, obviously yesterday, the school system had an unexpected situation that arose, and I just want to take a minute to acknowledge the Clinton Police Department, Massachusetts State Police, the school administration, the DPW had helped out. I thought for going through these trainings over the last several years, it was pretty it was unbelievable, right? It was unbelievable how quickly the response was. The communication from administration to both staff and to parents was frequent, and thankfully everything turned out to be for the best outcome of that situation. So thank you.
I just want to add the teachers too. Real important part of that.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, yeah.
Don't forget.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, not,
Yeah.
to echo what you said, as a parent, it's an awful thing to have to go through, but at no point did I feel like we were in the dark. The communication stream was steady and comprehensive. So I know it's an awful thing to have to go through, but my kids were, it's a sad, maybe it's sad a little bit, but they were mostly unfazed when they got home. So it's terrible that we have to go through these things, but I'm grateful that we have a school administration and a police department and other public safety teams that help chip in and support that can handle something like this and not feel overwhelmed. And the fact that, I got something in this morning or this evening that they reviewed the plan and they're real professionals, and I'm lucky to be a parent here.
Yeah, it made me proud to be a Clintonian yesterday, for sure. Appreciate it.
I apologize for leaving the
No,
staff
I
out.
mean, you
didn't-
said
I
staff,
can't
but I
pat
wanted to
yourself on the
say,
back.
both of my kids were talking about how they're teachers mostly, so. Yeah.
Hopefully,
Okay, we won't do that again.
that doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
Very good. All right, anything else? All right, so the next select board meeting will be on Wednesday, March 1st. And
I move, we adjourn.
Second?
second, all in favor?
Aye.
We're good, thank you
We're up
very
against the
much. Have a great night.
Mandalorian that night, so we gotta get a good agenda. All right. And Ted Lasso's the next meeting. They're like, Apple's